Public presentations, which is the portion of the meeting that is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter that's not on the agenda but is under the jurisdiction of the board. Supervisor Parlier, this is not the swearing, this is the swearing at. So let it begin. Morning, Mr. Robles.
Good morning, board. My name is Ralph Robles, R-O-B-L-E-S, and I am a veteran. And we have been coming to you for years now, literally, with our complaints about how the voting system in this county has been mismanaged. Your answer was to spend $2 million on a camera security system that doesn't really work. It provides no security, and it really doesn't even provide any visibility. You hired more staff, but all they have served to do is to insulate the ROV from any kind of accountability. Moreover, you reduced the number of voting centers so that it caused more people to be concentrated into fewer places. And you compounded this obstruction to the voters by misdirecting many of them clear across the county from their nearest voting center to literally in the other side of the valley, and some clean from Taft all the way up to Tehachapi. You further blockaded traffic here in this building and the post office, causing disruption. You put out barricades for over a month, and you made the rush crowd vie with the disabled and aged for an opportunity to come in and present their ballots. They're leaving them, the only option is vote by mail. And it was kind of cute. You punched holes in the envelopes so that a discerning handler could actually ascertain the political bent of the voter that presented that ballot. You caused hardship to the aged and the disabled.
Mr. Robles, can I ask you to bring your comments to a close? We're over our 2 minutes.
Well, okay, let's just put it this way.
Okay.
You have turned the voter suppression system into an art form.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Can I ask a question about the barricades that he mentioned? I think, you're referring to along the street out here?
Also, I understand the post office had either barricades or control of the traffic through the ballot drop boxes out there. And I don't know, but I've heard rumors that there were other places where traffic was impeded.
Okay, well, I don't want to address any rumors. I want to address what happened out here. My understanding is that was, for lack of a term, barricaded. There were cones out there so that people could drive up and drop off their ballot. Am I wrong about that? Why were there cones out there?
Chairman Couch, Ms. Espinoza would be the best person to answer that, and she is making her way to the podium.
Right. Well, I'm curious about that myself. We'll find out.
Mm-hmm. And while you're at it, ask her why they didn't just open up a bunch of these empty parking lots.
Thank you, Mr.
for
Robles.
drive-through availability.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Amy Espinoza, Kern County Auditor, Controller, County Clerk. The cones on the side of the building here, it was actually on the Saturday before the 2 Saturdays before the election and election day. It's a way for our office to provide a more convenient way for voters who are disabled or who don't want to get out of their car to drop off their vote by mail envelope.
Someone was stationed out there to take their ballot and put it in the box.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and
That-
so
that's
again,
what I thought.
we only offer it here because of staffing and then also control over the ballots. We don't want to open that up just anywhere because here, once those ballot boxes get filled up, 2 people wheel them in, we put them in the vote by mail room where they're under lock and key, and then we can take another empty one out.
And so when someone drives up and hands the ballot to someone, they can watch that person put it in the ballot box.
Correct.
Right there. Okay. That's what I thought.
And some folks, they want to put it in themselves, so my staff go and they lift that ballot box for them so they can drop it in themselves.
All right, thank you for that.
Good morning, Mr. Parlier. Congratulations. God bless America. I am Charles Shin. I am a retired Marine and a concerned citizen. Some improvements I would like to go over for the new year. Folks who apply, fill out the application to purchase voter data should receive a complete registration file, but we have noticed for the last 5 months that we are not. We request a meeting with the ROV, one or more supervisors, and possibly legal counsel if they want to come, to go over the legal requirements to provide records for review. That comes out of the California Election Regulation, Access to Voter Registration Information, Permissible Uses, 19003, record review for any person to conduct an audit of voter registration lists for election, scholarly, journalistic, political, governmental purposes. Record review includes, but is not limited to, detecting voter registration fraud, evaluating voter registration information accuracy, and evaluating compliance with applicable federal and California laws. Change of address confirmation notices. We completed in the summer 322 folks who have moved out of the state of California, yet they're still registered to vote in Kern County. From the Secretary of State's website, right here, voter indicated moved out of state through the NCOA, National Change of Address. County shall update the status of the voter registration record to canceled. And last but not least, another reminder, December 3rd from the Secretary of State, Memorandum 24-230, Election Administration and Voting Survey, the EVAS report. EVAS report on the 13th of January needs to be submitted to the Secretary of State, and on the 3rd of February, the statewide data from all 58 counties will be submitted to the EAC, which means that's the published date. We're looking forward to a complete EVAS report, not one has 57 deficiencies as the last 2 years example gained us a lawsuit by Judicial Watch. Thank you.
Morning.
Hello, Paul Infesti. I am in District 3, and I want to congratulate Chris Pollier. For a very brief period of time, you're actually my council representative. I don't know if you remember, I used to come up and speak at those meetings as well. I want to thank Amy Espinoza and her staff for the election this year. I know there are some road bumps, like I did complain once about, getting the sample ballot after, the sample ballot after I had the ballot, but those are issues that have seemed to always exist. But I think overall, with all of the stress and the huge duties that that department has, I think it's a miracle they actually get everything done and get it done by the deadline. Again, Greenfield popped up, and that's something that's being dealt with. It wasn't swept under the rug. It was actually addressed directly by the head of that department, and I think we should give her kudos for admitting that and working to resolve something that will work for everybody. I have heard about these strange holes on the envelope as though it identifies your party, but I've sometimes seen them, sometimes not, and I haven't changed my party affiliation, so I really don't think it's any way that you're identifying people of a party. That's one of those conspiracy theories that pop up and seem to get spread a lot, but don't really have any real say to it. Anyway, thanks. I think all of you guys do a really good job up here. I don't know if I ever got a chance to say, but I also congratulate Leticia Perez for her re-election. Ms. Bass. I would have said it earlier, but, I'm still in time. I would have said it earlier, but I just didn't get up and speak for a couple of months. My voice comes in and out these days. Anyway, thank you for all the great work you do on behalf of the residents of Kern County.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Linda Welch, LINDAWELCH. I'm here to address a minor issue I encountered during the last election. Due to concerns about mail theft, I have a P.O. box for all of my important mail, which includes, of course, election materials. However, I often struggle to remember which address to put on the back of the return envelope with my ballot. Initially, I contacted our local election office for clarification, but I wasn't confident in their information, so I then reached out to the state office. And of course, I received a different answer. I emailed the state office explaining the situation to get clarification. They confirmed that the state office answer was correct, and they gave me an explanation, so hopefully I'll remember next time. While this may seem and is a very minor issue, it's just another minor issue on top of a list of minor issues, and some not so minor, which have led to a couple of lawsuits and possibly pending more. It's crucial for all citizens of this county to be aware of the deterioration in the election department. It's their process that's being affected, and they need to become aware of what's going on. Thank you.
I just wanted to announce that a special election has been called by the governor for Assembly District 32. The primary for that election will be conducted on Tuesday, February 24th, 2025. We're already in 25. And should a clear winner not be determined, then there will be a general election on April 29th. Candidate filing for this election begins on Thursday, this Thursday, December 19th, and ends at 5 p.m. on January 2nd. In order to accommodate the county's winter recess and still provide accessibility to potential candidates, we will be providing extended hours until 6 p.m. on Thursday, December 19th, and Monday, December 23rd. We will also be open during winter recess for half days, 8 a.m. to noon on Friday, December 27th, and Monday, December 30th. I don't think anyone needs to be reminded. I feel like if anyone deserves a winter recess this year, it's my staff, and they are committed to this election. This is a blackout period for us, and I've decided to have all staff in, all hands on deck on those half days, again, so that candidates who have questions or might want to come in and file have that opportunity and not just on a limited basis. Thank you.
Could you give me the filing period again for the Assembly District?
December 19th, which is this Thursday, through January 2nd, which is the day after
Thank you.
our winter recess.
All right, appreciate your help. Thank you. Thank you to your staff. Maybe they can get some rest after February or April of what year, she probably would ask me. Okay, that takes us to item 7, which is under the Auditor Controller County Clerk, and it is an update on the Greenfield Union School District election.
Good morning, members of the board. The item before you today is an update on the Greenfield Unified School District election. However, I would like to start with another issue that is somewhat related. Since our last board meeting, Supervisor Couch brought to my attention that there was a potential additional error in ballots sent out in the McFarland Unified Board Member Area 2 race. I looked into this and confirmed that 12 voters received this race on their ballot erroneously. However, only 6 voted. While this error is not ideal, the voted ballots did not have an effect on the election results, as the elected candidate won by 231 votes. I know many voters and your board are wondering what happened in both of these races. How could voters receive a ballot containing a race that they were not eligible to vote in? After researching, the culprit in these 2 instances is that the district map in our GIS was correctly updated, but a section of a street was not captured in our election management system in both of these instances. This was a result of human error, and I want to put this in perspective, that of the 458,298 voters across Kern County who were sent a ballot for the November 2024 election, 120 received an incorrect ballot, and of the 286,666 voters who cast a ballot, 63 voted their incorrect ballot. The error rate on these are 0.03% and 0.02% respectively. Now, I do not want to minimize the effect this error has had on the school districts, the voters, and most importantly, the candidates. I want to assure the voters of Kern County that the Elections Office is committed to conducting accurate elections and that these errors are being corrected immediately. And we will be conducting a review of all of our districts to ensure all revisions have been made as soon as possible. I believe this is these errors were a result of our, well, it should have been 2020 redistricting that happens every 10 years. As you recall, the census was late due to COVID, and that just kind of pushed everything back a little bit. Before turning it over to County Council for an update on where we are with the Greenfield Unified School District and the possibility of a special election, I want to express my personal commitment, along with the commitment of my staff, to resolve this issue as soon as we receive guidance from the court. Now I will defer to County Council for an update.
All right, thank you.
Just to follow up on Ms. Espinoza's statement, specifically the Greenfield Unified School District, where a number of voters received the incorrect ballot for the trustee zone. My office has met 2 separate times with staff from Schools Legal Services, who's representing the Greenfield Unified School District. We are also working with outside counsel on this, and we have come up with a plan that follows the law. And while I understand the frustration that things can't just happen immediately, there is within the elections code an established process whereby errors like this can be fixed. And it does involve the court, and so in that direction, and I believe last week you heard that schools has filed a writ of mandate in court, and since that first writ, they've filed an amended writ, and we are proceeding with court action, and we'll be asking, we the county won't, we're named as a defendant in the case, but the petitioner, which is the schools, will be asking the court for an order directing that a special election be held because of the error that was made.
That's what the school district is essentially requesting in their filing?
Yes, and they're also here in case you have specific questions to that, but we are working together. We have a plan. It's unfortunate that there's active litigation, but that's how this process gets resolved. And
Okay,
we
and
are
so
moving forward.
For the benefit of the public, then, I think in the conversation last week, there was discussion about how your office would, forgotten the terminology you use, you file it together, a stipulated, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, it would be a stipulation that the parties agree to it. We're working toward that. We're not sure that, because the county and the school district technically aren't as much a party as the candidates were. So that's one of the reasons that we are consulting with outside counsel. But the thought is that we will do everything in our capacity to stipulate to an agreement just to get it resolved as quickly as possible.
Is there anything in the law about when something like this occurs, about if it will be just the 2 candidates that were on the ballot previously, or will it be opened up to anyone that wants to run in that special election if it's called for?
Yeah, I believe, I shouldn't,
You don't want to speculate?
I'm not going to speculate on that one.
You don't know of anything in the law?
I don't know.
Okay. Do they need to amend again, or have we heard from the court on the amended filing? Where does that stand?
To my knowledge, we have not yet heard back from the court on the first amended.
I'm asking all these questions for our benefit, but for the benefit of the public as well, because this item's on our agenda to give an update so people understand the status, at least as of today. So
I understand, Chairman Couch.
have at it.
To introduce myself again, my name is Abigail Alfont, General Counsel for Greenfield Union School District. And just to reiterate some of the items that County Council Margot Razan has stated, we have been in active discussions with County Council's office. This is a unique and rare, fortunately, situation, and trying to figure out what the best steps and where we need to go next. We do need to make another amended filing with the court. We just had our last meeting with County Council's office yesterday afternoon. We will be having another meeting with them sometime later today to determine how best to make that next amended filing. Fortunately, as I said, this is a rare circumstance, so figuring out the parameters of that. The provisions in the elections code, there are two different sets of provisions, and trying to figure out how best to make that work, to keep it within the parameters of the district being able to be involved in the action, because the district is the entity that does have the funding to be able to proceed with that, to make sure to preserve the integrity of the electoral process. The candidate does not have the funding to be able to proceed with this. So that's where we're at right now, is needing to have an additional filing to be able to move forward with it while preserving the due process rights of both candidates, and also making sure that there is an elector from the district who is involved in the action. So there's many stages to it, but trying to move forward as expeditiously as possible, because we are in the circumstance where an organizational meeting has to be held, similar to the swearing in a new supervisor this morning. That's what has to happen with the district, is they have to swear in their new trustee within a certain period of time after the election was certified. So trying to do this, trying to get this matter resolved before that organizational meeting does not seem like it's going to be possible. So we're trying to unring a bell. Is going to be.
When is that?
We will not be able to have a hearing before the court by tomorrow. So it's going to be even more complicated, trying to have the court hear it after the trustee has already been seated.
So in a best-case scenario, am I hearing you right, saying you can't file this? You could, but you're not going to file this writ today. You're going to meet with county council tomorrow. You probably won't even file it tomorrow. Maybe after that, the next day or the day after, maybe this week is the
It
best
will be
case.
filed this week for sure, but the issue is being able to have it heard by a judge.
Understood.
And this timing of the year, being able to get before a judge is the real hurdle, because it won't take much time after we've had an additional meeting with county council to get the filing made with the court, but being able to actually be heard by a judge is the real hurdle that we have at this moment.
Okay, well, any questions by the board for any parties? Thank you for being here today and the update. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Is there anyone here that would like to make any members of the public who would like to make a comment on this particular item?
Mr. Couch, last week you asked the council whether other candidates can be involved in this race. At that time, she mentioned that she didn't know. She needed to look at election code. 7 days later, she doesn't have a response to that question. On Thursday, December the 12th, took me 10 minutes. I called California Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber's office, and they gave me a response. And they said that this is a matter to be dealt with at the local level. That is the response that the Secretary of State said. I just wonder why it takes 7 days to can't get a response. It took me 10 minutes to get that response.
To be
Dealt at the local matter. They have no jurisdiction
Hang
over
on.
local elections. They
What
only
I-
deal with statewide elections.
What I think our county council said was she wasn't aware of anything in the law that said one way or another. So that's not necessarily inconsistent with what you heard. So let me turn to county council and say, do I have that right? What you said just a couple minutes ago.
You are correct in what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it'll be up to the county board of supervisors to determine, for you guys to determine if, it's up to your jurisdiction to determine if other candidates will be involved in this race, or they can get in.
I don't think that's accurate. I think this is going to be between the attorneys
Yeah,
and the judge,
all right.
Which is local, which is local.
which is local.
Just
It's-
not us
it's-
local.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
But I think that's where we're at. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just don't want
No.
you to leave with information or with a perception that that you think we're giving you that I don't want to give you. Supervisor Perez?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Herrera, do you know, Chair, how many people ran in that election? Was it just the two or there was
Two.
more?
Only two, I believe.
It was 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems to me that it would be limited to those two who, if there had been 5, they should also be able to run again.
Yeah.
Even if they got very few votes.
That would be
That's my
logical.
instinct, that it's going to be the two of you, but it's beyond our expertise here.
And I would allude to another thing that was mentioned earlier. Another comment earlier was made that this might have been a bump in the road. So a gentleman made a commentary. It was 5.3% of our election, of the error, the 108 votes. So it was not a bump in the error. It was massive.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I
your
know,
comment.
I was counting ballots just like you, Ms. Perez, too. We were curing ballots and we
I
came,
know.
yeah.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
Good luck to you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Mercy Pena, and I'm calling it the winner of the election. I did call the state of California, and I'm sorry, but Mr. Herrera is incorrect. Once the ballots have been certified, the election's over. It's done. It was certified by the elections office, it was certified by you, and it was submitted to the state of California. So we're done. All this talking and delaying, I feel like I still should be, I know I need to be seated tomorrow, because that's what my seating date is. And then all this back and forth just needs to get down to a judge. I'm the winner of the election, and I need to just get seated tomorrow. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Chairman, my name's Jeanette Beeson, and I have been helping with Mercy Pena in this. I have a question in the fact that all of a sudden there will be new costs if this is heard by a judge. Who is representing who? We have 2 candidates here. So are they going to have to get legal help in this situation? It kind of opens a bucket of worms when you unring a bell. So I have concerns of this for either candidate as far as, do they have to get counsel to be represented equally? She was not in the first meeting. This was discussed with Dr. Herrera. And so I just have these costs that are coming to mind, and people say, well, do you have to get representation? Or is this a bell that's going to be unrung, or is it done? So that is just my question, because the community is interested in knowing what is going to be the final call. How are they going to be informed of this? And these are just questions that they have in this regard, because money for legal counsel, that type of thing has to be done, and we want fair representation for both parties. Thank
Well,
you for your time.
It was our hope that we would have all of those questions answered and wrapped up today. We don't. The meeting with Dr. Pena that you're talking about, are you just referring to the last Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday?
Yes, the last meeting that you had here as the
Okay,
Board of
so
Supervisors.
To
and she's-
characterize it, it was just a Board of Supervisors meeting where this was discussed. It wasn't actually a meeting with him. It was a meeting just like this a week ago.
Right,
Okay.
so that's why we came to this meeting. We also wanted to know, so there's a plan to be sworn in tomorrow? Is this a done deal for tomorrow? How do people plan ahead for things? Is they're sworn in and then she's not in? This is a lot of confusion in a situation that was a certified election. So just asking these questions because it opens up things as far as council representation for either party in this situation.
So I'll turn to our county council and say, would you like to respond to those statements and those questions? And maybe to summarize what we did last week as well, which might help.
What my office did last week,
Well,
or
no,
what your board did?
What the board did last week was to refer this to your office, along with a request that, since this was a mistake that was made by the county,
Yep.
not anybody else's mistake, that we would, to the extent possible, minimize, if not eliminate, costs to the district or candidates involved. Now, we may not be able to minimize legal costs, I recognize, but it was other costs that might be associated with this.
The county will ultimately be paying for the costs of, if there's a special election and for the proceedings, because the county has made the mistake.
But there's no final date on when we will know that information. But the swearing-in will occur tomorrow, is that correct?
That will be
No,
determined by
I
the
mean,
district.
that's not our call. What we're saying is this, there's a post-election remedy.
Okay.
And our legal counsel and schools legal counsel and our elections department are working through that. And that issue will be heard by a judge whenever that judge wants to hear it. It's not up
And
to.
whenever that judge decides, kind of a thing, then she'll be
Yes,
voting.
yes, the decision will come after he hears it,
Okay.
absolutely. So whenever he decides to hear it, and whenever he decides to make a decision, that's when we'll actually know what the path forward is.
Okay, thank you so much for your help.
Does
with
that,
this
does that
matter.
even get close to what you were
Well,
asking?
Close but no cigar, whatever. Go next.
We will continue to work just as diligently as possible. In my experience, courts do hear election matters quickly because there are such tight timelines.
Right.
Again, as the parties, schools, legal, and my office have no control over what the court does, and it is kind of a busy time of year in the courts. But again, my experience is that they put this on the expedited track to get it heard just as quickly as possible. And as Ms. Affont said, my office is meeting with them again today, and we're just going through the steps that are outlined within the elections code.
Okay.
Just one more comment on the timeliness of getting before a judge, and this is really for school council. As I mentioned, we do have the special election, and our time frame for consolidating this election in February, if it's possible, is not that big. And so just to kind of
Do
keep.
you know even a rough estimate on when that has to be done by?
I'm going to say January 8th, because that's the day that we get our certified list from the Secretary of State, and we will start preparing ballots.
So if the judge heard it and made a decision before that date, and gave his decision to us,
So if
or
the
back it up a few days even?
if the decision is to keep it with the two candidates, we already have all of their information. If a judge opens it up to, again, not just the two candidates and basically running an entire election, it won't more than likely be able to be consolidated because there are timeframes that we have to adhere to as far as when candidate filing is so many days before an election. The board would have to potentially, not your board, the school board would potentially have to approve a resolution calling for an election. And so there's a lot of little intricacies in the election code, and depending on the office and whether it's local, state. And so as county councils mentioned, I mean, we're reaching out to other counties, we're working very closely together, and then also with the schools to try and get this rectified as soon as possible, really to give the district their entitled board members so that they can conduct business for those residents.
Thank you. We apologize to the district and to the candidates for this happening. I recognize there's disruption to your doing business and obviously to the candidates who worked hard, I'm sure, on their campaigns, and now you're have a state of flux. So doesn't do any good, but at least we're here saying we understand what you're going through and we appreciate it. We went without a supervisor for a few months, and it wasn't easy. So we get it, and we apologize for the inconvenience that this is causing.